Welcome to Stories of Brisco and Bradshaw. I would be Bradshaw. That would be your Chickasaw native, your Chickasaw Hall of Famer, Oklahoma's favorite son, Mr. Gerald Brisco. And we got one of the greatest characters from the Attitude Era, from the Ruthless Aggression Era, from one of the greatest characters from professional wrestling. She was a former hardcore champion. More importantly, she was one of the greatest characters and icons that came out of wrestling in the last 30 years. She is Miss Terri Runnels. Terri, welcome to the show.
Donka, thank you.
Well, thank you for joining us. It's great to see you, and it's so good to finally catch up with you after all these years.
I know. I hate getting old.
Well, speaking of
who's getting old,
Brisco's
you're not
here.
getting old. I'm the only one getting old in this threesome that we got going here. And let's enjoy this little gig here. I ran into you at, I think, Chillicothe, Ohio. I think that's where we were. Where the hell heck that's at? It's somewhere in Iowa. Because it's Chillicothe, Ohio. Ohio.
Hard to pronounce, lovely to visit.
Yeah, it's a lovely place. It's named after an Indian tribe, Native American tribe there, so I should know how to say it. Chillicothe.
There you go.
But anyway, I told John that you're thinking about coming on our show there, and he got really excited. Said he got a lot of great stories and wanted to catch up with you and everything. So we're really looking forward to it. Terri, what an interesting way you got into the business, and what an interesting life that you had inside the business. But I don't want to go. A guy that I watched on TV, and he's JBL's hero, Larry King. Used to do makeup on him. Man, that must have taken forever and ever and ever. Tell us a little bit about
That had to be like the Frankenstein makeup that took like 6 hours, to do like every single day.
Wait, I have a great story to tell you. So whenever I got to Washington D.C. and my first night doing his makeup, Larry's makeup, I was there, nervous Nelly. I'd done a lot of people's makeup, but this is a big deal. And so I did not know that Larry King had just had a heart attack and that he was just returning from this. So what happens is I am there doing his makeup on set, making sure lighting on set is good, great, everything's going well. And so as I'm there, doing his makeup, Larry said to me, "How do you think I look?" And I did not know that he had just had a heart attack and that he was coming off of a heart attack. And my words were verbatim, "You look healthy." Holy shit. Like the entire control room was falling out because they're like, he couldn't have looked worse ever in his career. And then for me to say, "You look healthy," yeah, they all fainted and fell out in the control room. So, yeah.
But in fairness, I've seen cadavers that look better than Larry King.
Yeah.
You're darn right.
I mean, Larry King was like 80 when he was 20.
80 million. You forgot that part. Yeah.
So how did you end up working for Larry King?
Hold on one second. Mama, can you bring me a Gatorade from the fridge? I'm so sorry. I don't know, whatever's in there that's cold. Thank you so much, Mom. So I'll tell you the story. I grew up in a very small town in Florida called Live Oak, Florida, and all my life,
home of Florida Sheriff Boys Ranch.
Yep. Oh, I got some of those stories too.
And Titus O'Neill also. Right?
Yes. No, ma'am, that's got sugar. Mom, just cold water's fine. Thank you. I should have taken you up on the request earlier.
On the white wine.
Anyway, okay, so I um I always knew from being a little tot that I wanted to be out of this small town. It was a lovely small town, but I just knew it was not for me. Like I knew that it was just too small. That's fine, Mom. That's fine, Mom. I graduated high school at 17, moved to Atlanta at the ripe old age of 17. And that's good, Mom. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Are we going to get to see Mom or what?
Yeah, Mom, come around. My mother's 81. She's never dyed her hair a day in her life. And
My word, I wasn't
Hey,
expecting
hey,
to
Mom.
you're blessing, yeah. Wait, hold
Oh
on.
my gosh.
There you
She's
go.
like-
Hey, Mom. I can see the
Wait,
resemblance
look.
there. How you doing?
Look at that long ponytail at 81. Is that amazing?
Awesome. Awesome. Way to go, Mom.
Thank you so much. Nice to meet you.
Nice to
All
meet
right.
you.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you, Mama. Appreciate it. So any hoodle doodles, are you okay? Okay. So anywho, so I left Live Oak and moved to Atlanta, and I was going to, I'll put these back on if I need to read something. So yeah, I was like, I have to get out of this small town, like I have to, go move and, lift my life, lift and laud my life. So I ended up I was a makeup artist and I was a mom. Okay. And so I was a makeup artist and I went to Bauder Fashion College for maybe a year. And then my lovely, my paternal factor told me that if I wanted to keep going to college, that I would have to have my mom pay for it, that he was not going to pay for it. And so I was like, oh, there's the nice guy I always knew he was. So I ended up moving back home to Live Oak, and I was very sad and disappointed. And so I would so
We didn't hear you.
good. That's probably a good thing. So anywho, I ended up going back to Live Oak and then realizing, okay, I'm not happy here. I've got to go out and see the world. And so I called one of my professors in Atlanta and I'm like, help me. I gotta get out of here. And she said, well, do you mind like a menial job? Are you okay with that? I'm like, yes, I'm okay with that. So my professor got her hair done at a very posh salon up in Atlanta called Williams Salon. And she said, I can get you back up here, but you've got to like sweep floors, wash towels, like told me everything I'd have to do. I'm like, great, good, let's do it. So I came back up to Atlanta and yeah, I was like washing people's hair, sweeping floors, doing laundry, whatever. And so I didn't mind at all. So lo and behold, there was a lady there that Williams Salon catered to, and her name was Susan Lasovich, and she was an anchor for CNN. And so as I'm washing her hair, I'm whispering to her, like, who do I need to talk to, to do makeup for, for the show? And she's like, her name is Ramona Horton. And poor Ramona Horton, I literally called that woman incessantly, like day in, day out. And finally she was like, oh my God, okay, come in. I'll give you an interview. So the gentleman that she said to me, this is Patrick Greenlaw, do his makeup. He's due on set in 3 minutes. Go. So did his makeup. And after that, she said, you're hired. Well, because I was low on the totem pole, I was just, the grunt. And
Larry, you're saying Larry King was a grunt at CNN at that time?
not at that point, because I was only in Atlanta at that point, only in Atlanta. But so yeah, so I need to speed up. So it became, because I was the low man on the totem pole, it became my job to do makeup for people on the weekends. So in order to work there, I had to do Larry King Live on the weekends. And then they called me and asked if I would fly up to DC and do makeup for Larry King in DC. So I did. They basically sent me there. Oh my God, my dad is snoring. Oh my gosh. Anyway, so long story short, got the job, moved to DC, and yeah, so I have more funny Larry King stories, but yeah, so that's how I became part of wrestling. Was I had to do makeup for wrestling on the weekend. Every ring rat ever would show up on Saturday and Sunday mornings in hooch bagooch outfits. And yeah, and so that's how I started with the company.
So how did
So
you
you
get
said you got a funny story of Larry King. Share one funny story about Larry King.
Well, I've already shared one with you.
King.
The one of the funniest ones was me telling him that he looked healthy after having just had a heart attack, and he looked god awful. He just was god awful. Yeah, and then there used to be a thing called the not Turner Games. What was it called? Shazam. Hold on. I'll think of it in a minute. Anyway, long story short, it was basically like the Olympics, but only in the States, right? And so I called Larry at home and I said, Larry, I really want to do this show. And unfortunately, he said to me, you'll take care of me, I'll take care of you. And I was like, I'm gonna have to back out of that one. So yeah, no. So yeah, it was just, 9 times out of 10 when I would do Larry's makeup, he would be eating food, and food would just be like popping out of his mouth and spraying out of his mouth, and it's just like god awful. Yeah. So yeah, there are more stories, but I don't feel comfortable to tell you the other stories that I refused to do. So tag in. Go
Did you
ahead.
enjoy working with Larry King?
Larry was funny as hell. I don't know what part of him thought that his 8,000 years, being 8,000 years old, was going to have me choose to do that in order to do the Goodwill Games. That was the name, Goodwill Games.
A Goodwill Game, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, now, in fairness, Larry did have about 38 wives, didn't he?
Or 39 or 39. Yeah. But I did hear from a lot of the ladies there that he was a very well endowed Jewish man. So I don't know, but I just heard stories.
Breaking
So, yeah.
news. It's breaking news.
Breaking news. Yeah, I decided that I did not want to reverse that situation. I just said, you know what? Tag out.
So Larry was a ladies' man, if you don't mind that.
Well, what John just told you, Larry. Yeah,
Yeah,
Larry
Jerry,
had
he was
one
married
name
like
and
a
one.
ton of times. I mean, so like a.
Yeah.
So
I
yeah,
did not know
listen,
that.
man. Well, you saw him; he's a great interviewer, so he had the gift of gab.
Well, here's the
Yeah.
great thing. The great thing is that, you know, he would be given his little sheet of you know, some facts, but I love the fact that he, you know, he just, you know, was off the cuff, man. I thought that was great. I still think that's great. I think it's horrible when people are too prepared. I love when people are off the cuff. So yeah,
Larry King was a great interview. I mean, he had
he
during
was.
back in the day.
Yeah.
I mean, for those that don't remember, you know, younger people that are watching, he was the
Yeah.
go-to guy. He got everybody. He got all
Yeah,
the
yeah.
stars. He got all the
Everybody.
everybody, and he was good. He was a really
He-
good interview.
He did get
I will-
Terry Runnels though.
No, he didn't.
No, and I will tell you another funny little story. So, and I forget which story this was, but it was like breaking news, and we were in an edit bay, and it was like, you know, we didn't have time for him to go through everything and look through everything. So I'm sitting there crunched in an edit bay that they're trying to feed him as many edits as possible. And you know, I'm a little girl, but there's not a whole lot of room for me. So he literally says to me, it's so gross. He says to me, he goes, Terry, I'm tired. I'm like, say what now? He goes, I'm sexy tired. And I'm like, excuse me, what? Say what now? He goes, I'm sexy tired. And I was like, so what does that mean? You're sexy tired? He goes, you know, like, well, I feel sexy and I'm tired. No. So yeah, I was grossed out yet again. But as you were speaking of, John, yeah, you know, he had the gift of gab and he did well, and yeah, but I've never heard anyone say to me that they were sexy tired before.
Jerry, have you ever been sexy tired?
Not that I my recall. I can't recollect that day I've ever been sexy tired. I've been sexy and I've been tired, but I don't think
I don't know if I've ever been
physically.
sexy. I've been tired.
Yeah.
Well, I agree with you on that.
Here's a spoon. Here's a spoon. Stir that shit up, and there you go. Right there, you go.
Okay. All right.
So when you're working on the weekend or for WCW, was it Ole Anderson was the one that decided to approach you to be a ballet?
I am so
Was
happy.
he ever? Was Ole ever sexy tired? My question. Hell, that was.
No,
Ole looked tired. I don't think he ever looked sexy.
no. But let me say this to you though. So recently I called Shivani, and I'm like, Tony, you've got to tell me. This is something I don't know about my own career. Like, how did I get the job of Alexander York? Because I knew Tony invited me to go out to lunch at the Omni back in the day, you know, when it was still, remember there used to be an ice skating rink at the Omni and everything. So Tony takes me to lunch and he makes this offer, you know, would you like to, you know, be this character? Mom, if he's going to keep snoring that loud, you're going to have to move. Okay. Anyway, so I'm at lunch at the Omni, and yeah, so I asked him recently, like in the last month, I'm like, dude, how did this happen? And he said, Ole literally looked at me and went, and I was like, is the lighting bad, guys? I can switch seats because
No, it's
I'm
okay.
getting bad backlight. You want
It's
to
okay.
move or no?
No, I think it's fine. I just think it's fine, Jerry.
No, we're fine.
All right, yell if you need me to move. Anyway, so Tony said that Ole basically said to him, and I guess wrestler sign language, what are we going to do about that one? And Tony was like, what? And Ole said, what are we going to do about that one? And so that's how it ended up that Tony went to lunch with me and offered me this position. And I was just like, talk to me. Like, what are we talking about here?
How long had you been there?
95, since 95. I'm sorry, 85. 85.
So how long had you been working with Ole at that time?
Did you say how long I've been working with whom?
Ole.
Oh, I mean, when I started. But, back in the day, it was, Watts would come in, this, in and out, right? In and out. That didn't sound real good, did it? However, so, I asked him, what are we talking about here? What kind of money? So for a while, I literally was I had to be at CNN at 4 a.m, not wake up at 4 a.m. I had to be there at 4 a.m. And then I would literally go to work from 4 a.m. to 12 noon. And then I would either fly or drive to wherever TVs were. Sometimes I would get back home just in time to shower and go right back to CNN to do makeup. And I think it was Montgomery, Alabama, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was Montgomery, Alabama, where I heard someone, I don't know exactly who it was, but I heard someone say, watch her. I don't think she's going to make it. And I remember going to the ring and holding the ring post and not being in character at all. And not being like, I was just like there holding on to the ring post. And as I was walking back, I lost sight in one eye. I think it was my right eye that I lost sight in. They rushed me to the hospital and I had all these tests done, MRIs, everything done. After all these tests, they said, like, we think you're just exhausted. Well, that's something you hear a lot of stars say. Oh, they were just exhausted. No, I was freaking sincerely exhausted. So, yeah, I was just like working around the clock. It was craziness. But yeah, I don't even know where I was going with that story, but
So
yeah.
had you ever been interested in the wrestling business before? Did you grow up watching wrestling? I mean, was there an interest there? How did the progression happen? How did the transition happen? Did it go smoothly?
Great question. I was not interested in wrestling. And after that moment in Alabama where I just lost it, I just could not even walk. I couldn't move. I was, I lost sight. It was just a hot mess. I realized, like, dude, you got to pick one or the other. Like, you either are going to work for CNN and do makeup, or you're going to work for wrestling and be this character, but neither the two shall mix because this ain't happening. So yeah, I ended up, I quit wrestling first. Dusty pissed me off. Here's what's funny. everyone always thinks, that I was in the business because I was dating Dustin. It was no, the opposite. Dustin hadn't even stepped foot in the business. And so, yeah, I realized I had to make a choice, and I just couldn't continue doing both. I just couldn't.
What were you mad at
So
Dustin?
Terry, you tell me, I got lost here, which isn't unusual for me, but you're doing Larry King's makeup, then then you're back into Atlanta. When you went back to Atlanta, how did you get involved with the wrestling? Did they assign you wrestling to do makeup, or how did all that come from?
No, so I was doing makeup on the weekends, and basically, like I said, the low man on the totem pole. And yeah, so I was the wee man. And yeah, so the transition was that I had to choose between the two. And yeah, I made the choice initially to leave wrestling, and then I left. I left all of them eventually. And I was pregnant with Dakota. Excuse me, and and then I was a stay-at-home mom. So Dakota is like a year and a half old, and yeah, and then one evening, I was in, my tanning bed, and I was just laying in the tanning bed and thinking about, like, what is it that WWF is missing? What is it? Because at this point, Dustin had now gone to WWF, right? So I started thinking, I loved being a stay-at-home mom. I didn't want to do anything else. But one night, Dustin's on the road. I am laying there thinking, what is it that they don't have at New York? What is it that they are missing in New York? And so I thought to myself, we've got Scary Sherry, we've got, cheerleader Pom Pom Sunny. Dustin is doing this character. What is it that they are missing? So the whole character of Goldust was missing this component that I thought they were missing, which is this amazing character of, like, the old school Hollywood. So Dustin was doing the whole, kind of being the he was does not he's driving me crazy, coughing and snoring. So I realized that, wow, old school Hollywood, back in the days of Marlena Dietrich, back in the days of old school Hollywood, these long dresses with trains, this whole, Marlena Dietrich would wear these suits or these long dresses. And so I was like, that's what they're missing. So I called Dustin, and I'm like, Dust, well, like, how do you feel? I gave him my idea, and he goes, I love it. I said, okay, great. Like, call Vince. And back in the day, Dustin was scared as hell to broach any subject to anyone that was above him. So when I said to him, call Vince, he said, this is your idea. You call Vince, which, is very typical. Hold on. However, so I was like, I didn't care. Like, I was not ever shy to speak to anyone about anything. So I called the office, and I get a phone call back from Pat. And this is in December of 95. And so Pat's the one that calls me, say, Vince wants me to call you, what's up. So I told him, my idea. And it was kind of the obligatory, yeah, good girl, but yeah, no, we're not interested. But thanks so much for, So I didn't care. I was loving being a stay-at-home mom, And so I was at my grandparents' home, which is from where I'm sitting at this very moment, maybe 3/4 of a mile away from where I'm at right now. And so Dustin calls me, and it's Christmas time now. We're at Christmas. Dustin called me, and he's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Well, I'm at Gran and Granny's house, and this is back still when, days on the road, 20 days on the road, that was still the norm back then. You remember those days." So Dustin said, what are you doing? I'm like, what? Like, why do you keep asking me what I'm doing? He said, pack your bags. They want to do your idea. So that's where, Marlena came to fruition and came to be. And so, yeah. And then she was born in, at Royal Rumble. So.
And how was your first meeting with Vince? It's always interesting when people meet Vince for the first time. How was your first meeting with Vince when you go over the Marlena character and all that he had in mind and Pat had in mind and you had brought up?
I know it was all my mind. It had nothing to do with them. It was all my mind. So, I had I didn't care. I had been around presidents, princes, poppers, porn stars. Like, I was not shy to be around anyone. So I didn't care. I didn't, no big deal. Told him what my idea was. And I told him I will either go to the ring with a glass of wine or a cigar, which I used to love to run a bubble bath and pour a glass of wine and have a cigar.
Mr. Brisco still does that.
Yeah, I got red
enjoy
back
your
there in the
bubble bath,
background.
Anyway, yeah.
So
So when you
Go ahead,
went
Terry.
on the road during that Christmas break, did you get a one-on-one with Vince and to kind of define the character, or did he? Because Vince, I know him, Vince, and working with him so many years, I know when a character comes in, he wants to meet with the character so he can get his input in there too, and kind of define the character the way that he sees it. Also, did you have that meeting?
Yeah, I had that meeting. I had nothing to lose. I wasn't scared. I wasn't, it didn't bother me in the least. Again, like I said, I've been around presidents, princes, porn stars, whatever. It didn't bother me.
President. I would assume that'd be Jimmy Carter being on the line, right?
No, I don't think so back then. Who was the president back then? 96.
Bill Clinton.
No, Bill, no, 96.
Bill Clinton. Maybe that's the reason you like cigars. Maybe it was with Bill Clinton.
No. I like cigars.
That's terrible,
like
Jerry.
cigars.
That is just terrible.
But anyway, I just, and then when coming up with names, my thing was either I wanted to be called Oscar because that was a great name. It was a very, wanting to be, and I'm having a hard time thinking about the hold on one second. My feeble brain will allow me to think of it for 1 second. Hold on. Androgynous. Thank you. That's the word I was looking for. Androgynous. So I knew I wanted this androgyny because of what they had already started with Dustin. So I wanted to create this sideline slash controlling character that was androgynous as well. So yeah, I thought Marlena, because that would be a great androgynous name. And Marlena Dietrich was a great androgynous character. Yeah, and so it was just, and so it was funny though. Vince, get this shit. Vince, so we finally come down to it's either going to be a wine glass or a cigar, right? I'm either going to have a wine glass or a cigar. And so Vince would say to me, damn it, don't like that son of a bitch until right before you go out to the ring. Then years later, he's on the cover of Cigar Aficionado. And I'm like, you bastard, you wouldn't let me light the sucker backstage, but you are now on the cover of Cigar Aficionado. Anywho, but yeah, I mean, it was one of those things where, yeah, I loved it. I loved smoking. Yeah.
Well, in fairness, Pat and Lanza, loved to smoke, and Vince never let them smoke around him. He hated.
I know. And it was Pat that eventually talked him into, if you'll ever go back and look, the first time I went out, the cigar wasn't lit. I'm like, Vince, that makes no sense. That's stupid. It was Pat that talked him into letting me light the sucker and go out to the ring with it. Because it was stupid otherwise. Why just go out with an unlit cigar?
Unlit cigar, yeah. Unless you wanted to be Arnold Skolin.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Great story there. Great story there. Hold on.
You guys shared cigars. I got to hear this.
Oh my Lord. So Kevin Dunn, this was a great rib. Kevin Dunn said to, and I forget which camera guy it was, starts with a D. Help me. Duff, not Duff. Oh shoot. Oh, sorry guys, I'm old.
What are you trying to think of?
Camera
so
guy,
the rib
name that
was
starts with a D, Jerry.
the
Dave,
rib on me was that they would get this camera guy to come over and say, we didn't get the shot, you need to do it again. And so he did it over and over again. When I got backstage, I was as green as a cucumber, and I was just vomiting. It was like god awful. But yeah, so yeah, that was a funny rib. That was a good one.
During that time, Terri, Monday Night Wars were going on crazy, and the Attitude Era went nuts. I mean, the things that we were doing back then was crazy, and you guys were at the forefront of it because Dustin was with Goldust, was one of the most out there characters, and both of you guys did an incredible job doing the character. Did you guys get any
Thank
pushback?
you.
I thought it was both of you guys were excellent. Did you guys get any pushback from media, from doing appearances, from things, from the right to censor or any groups out there? Because we got a lot of pushback from different things because of stuff we did during the Attitude Era.
Yeah. No, I mean, yes, there was pushback from, Razor, like he didn't want to do it at all. I give Dustin massive credit because a 6'5" tobacco chewing Texan to take that character and make it what it was, that's massive for Dustin. And
it was brilliant for Dustin. I mean,
Dustin did an
Dustin's
incredible
greatest hour.
Dustin did an incredible job. He's a very entertaining, smart guy.
Yeah, he is. Sometimes and sometimes not. But yes, I'm very proud of him for what he did with that character. Yeah,
But what I was
absolutely.
wondering was like, like the media had has pushback, every time,
Yeah,
time we'd do something a little crazy or Stone
yeah,
Cold would say a bad word or something, you drink beer on television. I mean, there was always getting pushback from sponsors and people, oh, they're going too far. They're going too far. Then we go a little further. And then they
yeah,
say we're going too far. Then we go a little further, and
yeah,
it was all like a cycle, it was like, I loved it back during the day because you'd say, well, they call Vince, and it was always you know how it was, Jerry. It was always a blame the other guy. They'd say, "Well, the performer was out there and just did it." I'm sorry, but that's just what happened. Of course, the performer was probably told to do it, so there's always a way
mhm,
to blame. It was a big circle. Nobody ever got it. And meanwhile, ratings just kept going higher and higher and higher. That's why I was wondering if you and Dustin ever had any pushback from the media or from any of the groups that were out there that were having such a problem with the edginess of the Attitude Era.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, but it was a gradual tiptoe to get to that point where I'll say this to you. It's sad to me that, once the IPO happened and everything basically got shut down, it saddened me that we could not continue on with the double entendre because, an 8-year-old boy or girl doesn't know what it means if Dustin says, and you can come in my back door. Great, awesome double entendre, right? But if you make a point of it being too far, then it is too far. But if you'll just shut up and let the double entendre do its job, it's amazing. It's wonderful. So, yeah.
Yeah, but the things that didn't need a double entendre were just as bad. You'd have the kids going suck it in schools across America. So it was,
Yeah. Yeah.
it wasn't like there was just blatant stuff. People flipping people off. I mean, it was one of the craziest times in television that time. I don't think there would ever be anything like it again.
Mm-mm. And I know, Dakota would fly with me to TVs every week. And I remembered as her mom having to kind of circumnavigate how I was going to explain that to Dakota. And so, like, it would be a situation where, remember HLA? Remember that? Yes, no?
No, no,
No, no.
Lesbian Action with Godfather.
no.
You don't remember that?
No.
HLA, Hot Lesbian Action. Okay. So, and then there was
Was that on our? Me and Jerry were there. I guess we just missed it. Was that on our show?
yes, and necrophilia
Oh, I do remember that. Yes,
with
yes.
Glenn, right?
Right.
Crazy. So, like, my barometer on that was, how do I explain this to my child without actually explaining it to my child at this age?
Yeah.
And
Because Dakota was what, maybe 4 or 5 at the time? Or?
three. Yeah, she went on the road with me when she was 1.5 years. Yeah, she had so many uncles on the road. Like, I remember Savio Vega and Shawn Michaels, and like everyone was like, "Can we take her in the ring? Can we take her to get popcorn on the upper level before the gates open? Can we, she married Edge when she was 5. When I asked her what she wanted for her 5th birthday, the theme, because she had been in so many people's weddings as a flower girl, she was like, Mama, I want to be a flower. I want a wedding party. I want a wedding party. So we were in freaking Memphis, Tennessee, and I went to the local bakery there, had them make this big, huge cake, wedding cake. Richie got Edge a suit, got everything that you need for a wedding, right? And they got Edge a ring to give to Dakota for marrying. I mean, it was hilarious. But like that is, here's going to be another double entendre. You know, that one is much easier to swallow than, you know, the necrophilia and the HLA and all that stuff. You know, I had to make sure that when I was out of the ring, she was not seeing a whole lot of that, you know? So yeah, I don't know if I answered your question or
No,
went down a
you
rabbit
did.
hole.
I
I'm
was
sorry.
I was on an overseas tour, publicity tour when the Hello Katie Vick thing happened.
Oh my
And I was
God.
asked by a reporter by it, and that was the first I'd heard of it. I didn't know it happened. And I'm literally sitting at some press conference. I don't know where we were. We'd gone through Egypt. I don't think it was in Egypt. I can't remember. I was doing some promotional tour for WWE somewhere overseas. And a promoter asked me about Katie Vick, and I had no idea what this reporter was talking about. And then they tell me, and I think they're ribbing me. I don't know if it's true. I have no idea. I'm like, you know, which to me is dark comedy. We can get into whether it's right or wrong or whatever, but trying to explain it to a reporter overseas when you had no idea that it had happened, I'm like, oh my God, how did I end up the front man of this?
Mm-hmm. Yep. And the whole my brain just had a fart again. Hold on one second. Christ, is dad dying? Hold on. I'll get back to it. I'll remember it in a second. Shazam, what was it? Caramba. I don't remember. I'll think of it in a minute. But anyway, go ahead.
So, Terry, what did you think during that time? Because you guys came from WCW, and Dusty obviously was one of the WCW legends, and so was Dustin. Dustin did an incredible job down there. And then all of a sudden, we're in this war with WCW at that time. What were your thoughts at that time? About the war between the two? Who did you think was going to win? Did you have a thought on it? Did you have any insight on it that was maybe different from what Jerry and I had?
Well, I don't know what both of your thoughts are on it, but I will tell you this. It disappointed me back then that we were not any more ingrained into Hollywood than we were. Like now, Dwayne and Dave and John and, people who, Bob Spoolhall, A-Ball speaking. Hi, not really. Goodbye. It was somebody.
I got this.
It wanted to
swamp
take all your
land down
money,
in
Mom.
Florida.
Anyway, what was I just saying before we were so rudely interrupted?
You're talking about the Hollywood integration that you were disappointed in the 90s of.
Yeah, and so I remember thinking, like, WWF at the time, oh my gosh, like they should do more of this Hollywood stuff. Like, why are we like not having more of this in our, in everything that we do? And then, ages later, well, hello, there, should have done that a long time ago. So, yeah, I mean, I just thought I was excited to go to WWF, but I was very sad that that they did not utilize Hollywood like they should have back then.
Yeah, I think one of the problems was, it was new. Before that,
yeah.
nobody would even touch us. I remember Sean was one of the first ones on a cover of a magazine anywhere outside of WWE. And that was one of the first. We just didn't have guys that were out there. It was to get Schwarzenegger like we did the time that was huge. Remember, I mean, it was. We just didn't have anybody. Nobody wanted to acknowledge us until the ratings got so big.
Yeah.
And then once the ratings got so big, they couldn't ignore us anymore, and that's when they kind of came around. And now people have accepted it as just part of entertainment, and it's got this massive presence now, so everybody has to try to be a part of it if they want.
And I really believe that one of the reasons too they started accepting us too was as we call them during the time, Terry, was the divas. I mean, you guys were gorgeous, and that was always the goal to have our girls that we had on our TV to be the most gorgeous girls on TV. And I think we accomplished that with you and all the others. But when you
Oh,
guys started appearing in Playboy and the other magazines, I think Hollywood did take a look at what we were
that
doing.
was the one thing I said no to. I said no to the fact that, how was I going to teach my daughter to be a lady and have good morals, and then she's going to, have her friends at school go, and this is what your mommy just did,
Yeah.
so like, I had to say no to that because of Dakota. And I guess also because of my morals that, my mom had us in church every time the doors were open, Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday morning, Wednesday night, everything.
Yeah.
Um,
Now, what was your mom? We graciously met your mom earlier. What was your mom's attitude when she sees her daughter in those hot, sexy
come on,
dresses
come here,
that you
Mom.
had with
Hold on,
the cigar with
I'm
the
gonna
cigar?
let her speak for, I'm gonna let her speak for herself. Lord knows where this is gonna go, but come here, Mom. Jerry's gonna ask you a question. Okay, Mom.
Go, Mr. Jerry.
Hey, Mom, what was your thought when all of a sudden you turn on TV and you see your lovely daughter in these hot dresses that that are Hollywood starlet type dresses, but more so than that, she's smoking this big old stogie, this big old cigar in her. Is that the way you raised your daughter, or what was the question around Live Oak, Florida, to Mom? What's your daughter doing?
Well, I was proud of Terry, and I had raised her to the point that I felt like she knew where to draw the line. There's a business line and a personal line, and she always maintained the difference between the two. I was proud of her.
Good, thank you.
You.
That was a nice
Never,
question. I answered.
never heard her say that before. Thank you, Mama. Appreciate
Hey,
it.
we're getting stuff out of Mom, Terry, that you can't get out of Mom.
I know, right? That's interesting. Meanwhile, Dad's still snoring.
So Terry, after all of that with Dustin, you end up staying with WWE, and you went through like a variety of different. With Jackie was one that was that's a pretty good association. Jack, I've always loved Jackie. She's from Texas. She started with Skandor Akbar, so I know her very well. A real tough girl. Did you enjoy working with Jackie?
Loved it. Loved it. One, it's interesting. I'm not sure who called for this, but whomever called for this made sure Jackie was on my ass because I tore my meniscus, and Dustin never used to feel powered to say something. He went off backstage like, who the fuck told her to do that to her? And so, I had to have surgery after that. And Jackie was like doing whatever they told her to do, so I'm not sure exactly who I pissed off. But I pissed somebody off. And but I love Jackie, still love Jackie.
I was going to ask you the question too. I mean, you were thrown in, and during that time, even though we didn't utilize the ladies like we do now, but had some of the best performers, best workers in the business was Jackie and all the other girls that you were around to go in the ring and put on great matches. And here they weren't after that; they were after the bra and panty type matches. But when you were thrust in the ring with girls like Jackie and wanted to do a little wrestling, how were you trained? I mean, because I know you weren't trained physically part and the ring. So how did it just the girl just really helped you out on that, or what happened?
Okay, so I am very I have a very strong statement about it. So, back in the day, especially for females, it was the norm for a female to get into the business via a husband, a boyfriend, a brother. You didn't just get into the business. Fast forward, now everybody wants to be in the business. But back in the day, I did not want to be in the business. I loved taking bumps from the guys. loved freaking getting color. I loved that. But imagine this. So the people that are on air now, on live TV now, they have worked and worked and worked and worked and worked to become this wrestler up here. Meanwhile, I'm over there saying to Vince, I don't want to wrestle. I'll take a bump from the boys any day of the week. I love it, but I do not want to wrestle other females. And Vince would say to me, it's going to be great. No, Vince. I said, you know the old saying about if you love something, you do it better than if you don't love something. I loved being in the business. I loved taking bumps. I did not want to be a wrestler, female, wrestling another female. I just didn't want it. And so imagine, okay, so I would get to TVs and I literally would be nauseated until I found out whether I was managing that night or if I was wrestling that night. If I found out that I was managing that night and taking a bump, whoa, beautiful, great, awesome, wonderful, love it. If I got to TVs and I realized I had to wrestle someone, I would go up to the highest level of the arena and vomit my heel strings up. And you know, Vince would say to me, you know, you're going to be great. It's going to be great. Like, no, Vince, I don't want to do it. So you would never have any idea how much I did not want to wrestle if you saw me walk through that freaking Titantron. You would have never thought that I had just thrown up because I was so nervous about, I mean, not to mention that, but wrestling in a thong, you know, it's crazy. It's crazy. So, so when it comes down to that, I love our business. I love it. It's in my blood. But I just, I should have never been put in that position because I didn't want to do it. I just didn't want to do it.
But you did have a prime spot at WrestleMania, what they called 2000 for the year 2000.
Right. The only one. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Keep talking.
Which is, I mean, that's a prime, you know, it's hard to get to WrestleMania. It's hard to have a match at WrestleMania, and you've got one at WrestleMania. And you're saying, I understand what you're saying. That's something you don't really like to do is wrestle, but that's pretty cool to be in a spot like that with Moolah out there with all the tricks and bells and whistles and stuff. It's still pretty cool to be in a WrestleMania like that.
Yeah. I agree with you. I just wish it were a little bit more on my within my parameters, I guess.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah.
And did the thing you want to do after like all this, you were like a backstage, you were like an interviewer and stuff. Did you want to do something like that going forward?
So I loved hosting XS with Coach. Loved it. Loved it. Loved doing the interview. Loved taking bumps. I mean, like when I won the hardcore title, like that was fun as hell.
See, that's something all three of us have in common. We've all been hardcore champions.
It's two-time.
One of the things that's funny about that was it was so last minute that I had to get one of Stephanie's dresses, and then the seamstresses had to alter it really fast so that when, you know, I got rolled up, you could see my panties. You could see those damn panties. So yeah, that was Stephanie's dress that they had to alter at the last minute. Yeah.
But they had to do a lot of altering because Stephanie's quite a bit bigger than you too, right?
A little bit.
But in fairness, Jerry was in an evening gown dress match too.
you know, and how pretty was
I
he?
look gorgeous too. And I gotta say,
He
I
was a
look gorgeous.
good-looking person in the evening gown dress.
You were
My son
hot
said I
there.
look like China's mother.
That's right.
No, I listen, Jer, you were hot as hell. You were hot as hell.
Thank you, Terry. I appreciate that. And I'll take that memory to my grave, knowing that Terry thought I was hot.
Yes. And listen, speaking of hot,
I gained
um,
a great amount of respect for you ladies getting dressed in that thing. I couldn't reach back there. I had to have Triple H fasten my bra for me. I said, I'm going to ask you to do something I never asked anybody else to do. I never thought I'd ask a man to do it. He's what's that? When you fasten my bra. But getting those pantyhose on straight, getting that bra on straight, making sure I'm puffed up and everything.
yeah.
You guys do a hell of a job, man. And us guys appreciate it, man.
And now you know why I was late today. That's why I was late today. Yeah.
Well, you look
Crazy.
great, so thank you.
You do. You look
And
wonderful.
listen. I'm going to plug this, and I don't have a start date, but I have been off of my live stream on Twitch for a while, but I'm getting ready to start again. And so I would love to have you guys on when I start again. And yeah, I love you being part of my brethren. You guys are awesome, and I love you.
Well,
Thank
we
you.
love you too. It's
Same.
great to see you. And so I know you're helping take care of your mother. What else are you doing these days that keeps you busy, that keeps you interested, that you look forward to? And what
I have a
what are you wanting to do other than Twitch?
Okay, so I have a grandson that's only a year and a half old that looks like he is 15 years
You're a
old.
grandmother. You're a grandmother. Let me.
I am, and his name is
Wow.
Rowan.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And you know, Dakota works for AEW. And so yeah, Rowan is ridiculously huge, and his dad is 6'5", his grandfather's 6'5". So yeah, he's like gonna be a big one.
Terry, what was your craziest match that you were ever asked to participate in? The absolute craziest thing
You know,
that you had doubts whether or not you could do it.
not doubt, but so there was a time where I did a flying crossbody, and I forget if it was Crash Holly or if it was Scotty 2 Hotty. But anyway, so you know, last minute, whichever of the guys it was, and forgive me that I can't remember, is supposed to move, and I end up, you know, flat, and I ended up breaking my sternum, which, you know, you can't breathe, you can't, you know, you mess up your sternum, you're screwed. And I get back to the dressing room, and Molly Holly, whom I love and adore, she's like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you did that. Like, I'm scared to do that." It's like, well, shit, why weren't you back here to tell me, like, don't do that? Like, that. But here's the other thing that seemed innocuous at the time, but it was the I don't know what they titled it. It was Stacy Keebler and I, but basically there was a bed in the ring, and do you know what I'm talking about?
As there is.
Yeah, I mean, there's always a bed in the WWE ring.
Anyway, so we are supposed to you know, do this match, and
Motel 6 rendezvous match.
yeah, but it's in the ring, you know, we're in the ring, and so I'm not worried at all. You know, syrup, it's the tarred and feathered syrup match. And so,
that sounds right, though, Terry. I'm laughing, but it sounds right.
So I am, you know, I win the match, and then Stacy goes under the ring and gets this bucket of syrup. And of course, we've got the gimmicks um, uh, tiny feathers. I can't even think of my words right now. Anyway, so the pillow has been gimmicked, you know, so it when she hits me with the pillow, the pin feathers are gonna go everywhere, right? So she pours the syrup all over me, which we didn't rehearse this part, of course. She pours the syrup all over me. I made the mistake of opening my mouth. And so as the syrup is like coating my throat, she then gets the pillow and starts hitting me with all these little pin feathers. And so every amount of syrup is holding on to these pin feathers. And now I literally, as God is my witness, I realized I am going to die on live TV because I couldn't breathe. All of the pin feathers are sticking to my throat and I cannot breathe.
Oh, wow.
I cannot breathe.
That's not the thing is that's not a good death. I mean, that's really not that's really not like here's how I want to die. That's not like in the top like 100.
Yeah, not at all. And I think it was Kyoto, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was Kyoto that came over to check on me. I couldn't even tell him, no, I'm not okay. Like, no, this is not good. I'm going to die. But that's the closest I ever came to daggum death on live TV.
It's unbelievable.
Right?
It's
Crazy.
unreal.
Anyway.
You know, we did things back then, you know, there wasn't a template for it. You know, we just did it. We're the first to do it. So there wasn't like a big stunt coordinator. There wasn't a safety protocol. There wasn't OSHA standards. We just did it and hoped.
And you could go on YouTube and find out what how Mullen May did it. So
that's right.
No,
you're just hoping nobody died.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
As Ellis used to say, I think you'll probably be okay.
Okay.
Did you take any of the Muller May bombs like the Dudley bombs? Or
yeah, you took the from Bubba Dudley, right? You took the Bubba Dudley bomb through the table.
I was the first one. I was the first one to take be put through the table. And do you know what pissed me off the most part about that? They asked me. So we're in the production office. Vince is looking at Bubba. He's like, Bubba, don't hurt her. Terry, are you sure you want to do this? Yes, Vince, I want to do it. Bubba, don't fucking hurt her. Terry, are you sure? Are you sure you want to do this? Yes, Vince, I want to do this. Bubba, don't hurt. So Bubba had been scared to death. They even asked me, they're like, do you want us to gimmick a table? I'm like, no, I want to take this bump. Well, what happened was Bubba completely took that bump away from me. He took the bump. I didn't. The main thing that happened to me on that night was I got more injured on the ambulance ride out of there because they forgot to batten down the hatches, so to speak. So I was being slammed from side to side in the ambulance. That was more my pain than the damn. And to this day, I tell Bubba, I'm like, you stole that from me. You took that from me. Yeah.
But you know, that's kind of like when Kane tombstoned Linda. You know, it's like you have one job here. That's to make sure that person doesn't get hurt.
Yeah.
And Bubba's the same way. You know, it's like I'm gonna do one thing. I'm gonna make sure that this person doesn't get hurt.
Yeah. Unfortunately,
I've been there before. Jerry, you've been there before where you have somebody, it's up 100% up to you to take care of them. And you're going to go to extremes to make sure that nobody gets hurt except for you. If it's you, it's okay. But it's not.
It's okay if you get hurt.
Yeah.
That's true.
Well, Terry, I can't thank you enough for joining us. It's so good to see you. It's wonderful. You look great. You look like you're. I'll say it like you told Larry King. You look healthy, but you actually do look
oh
healthy.
God.
But it's great to see you. We had so much fun with you back then. You were such a wonderful character. You and Dustin did such a good job together. You did a great job with everything you did. You look back, it's such a wonderful career.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Loved
Terry, I
working with
run
you
into
guys.
you like I said. You'll run into you like I said in an autograph deal. People trying to get a hold of you, do these autographs. Are you open to doing them now? And how can they get a hold of you to book you up? What's
I,
your
I,
contact?
I, I love that. I love, it's like going to a class reunion.
It
It's
is.
so
It is.
nice
It
for us
is.
to
It's
see
fun.
each
That's
other.
the most fun thing about it is seeing all the old guys and girls.
Yeah,
That's what
yeah.
John. Every time we're called to do what, our first question: who's going to be there?
That's right.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, no, I love doing shows, but I've learned the hard way. Hard way. I've learned that it's not anymore. It's like I have a running tally of work for this person or don't work for this person. You either go, oh, yes, I love that guy, and yes, I would love to work for him, or yeah, no, I will never work for him again. So yeah, but I'm trying to even think of what my handlers would be very mad at me right now because I can't think of the Terry R bookings at gmail.com. I think. I don't know. But I will let you guys know when I start my live stream back up again, because
Absolutely.
I would love to do this with you guys on my stream.
Cool.
Absolutely. Well, Terry, hey, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to talking
you.
with you, and thank you for taking the time. And you were late for a very good reason, and you look fantastic.
Thank you. God bless.